Okay, so this is chapter 16 on monopolistic competition. Note that chapter 14 is on perfect competition. Chapter 15 is on monopolist. So we have this hybrid monopolistic competition. To review the big picture, chapter 13 was the cost of production. This is on the cost side. But then now we look at the revenue side, which depends on market structure. So we had the competitive market in chapter 14, monopoly in chapter 15, and this is chapter 16 on monopolistic competition. And then we also have oligopoly, which is the next chapter. So here we'll see what market structure that's lying between perfect competition and monopoly. And we'll look at what are their characteristics. And we'll see how a monopolistically competitive firm choose to maximize profit. So what price to charge, what quantity to produce, and do they earn economic profit? And then we'll see whether or not there's a welfare loss due to this monopolistic competition. We'll also look at what are the social costs and benefits of advertising. Okay, so we've seen already two extreme forms of market structure. One is perfect competition, where you have perfect substitutes. So many firms selling identical products, so all the firms are price takers, so you price at marginal cost. The other extreme is a monopoly where there's no substitute. So there's only one firm. This is not a price taker, this is a price maker that can set the price, and it will price above marginal cost. So there you have this markup. So in between, so one is perfect substitute, the other is no substitute. So in between, you have what we call partial substitute. So there are two examples here. One is the oligopoly. That's what we're going to see in the next chapter. There's only a few firms selling similar or identical products. But this chapter, we're looking at many firms, but selling similar but not identical products. That's the key thing. So that's why these are partial substitutes. Okay, so for oligopoly, we have what we call concentration ratio. So this is how dominant are the top four firms. So basically, the question is, what is the percentage of total output that is produced by the top four firms? And then this gives you how concentrated this market is in terms of output. In most industries, the concentration ratio is less than 50%, but there are some exceptions. Light bulbs, 84%. Batteries. Oh, good question. What are the companies that produce batteries, you know? Oh, there's Energizer, right? The rabbit that keeps on going. What else? Duracell, yes. Duracell is also a big company on the batteries. What else? I think there's Panasonic or Sony. But I mean, you don't really remember these other companies. So here you see that, yeah, so indeed batteries, you have this huge concentration ratio that the handful of the top four firms are having such a huge market share. And then there's all these everybody else that only counts for a fraction of the market. Tobacco, 88%. How about beer? Yeah, so what are the top companies that sell beer? Hennigan, yes. The question is, how many beer companies can you name? Well, there's only a handful of them, or the big names. And yeah, they account for 88% of the whole market. And then there are these other small brewers, but they have far less market power. But anyway, so this is concentration ratio. And for these large concentration ratio industries, so it's likely you're facing an oligopoly. So the other example is monopolistic competition. So here the key thing is that you have many sellers. So in this sense, it's like perfect competition. But instead of selling identical products, you are selling similar but not identical products. So you have what we call product differentiation. Actually, because of this, so location is very important. How do you locate your product is very important. Yeah, so because of this product differentiation, these firms are not price takers. They still face a downward sloping demand curve. It's not as extreme as a monopoly, but they are facing a downward sloping demand curve. But unlike the monopolist case where there's barrier of entry, here we do have free entry exit. So the zero profit condition would still hold in the long run. And so examples. So think of, say, apartments. When you rent an apartment, well, not all apartments are the same. Some are next to a big street or next to the MRT station. Others are in a more quiet neighborhood or in the rural areas. Some are on first floor, some are second floor, some are at the top. Some are facing east, some are facing west. Some have more rooms than others, or you have windows, furniture, or how big is the living room, how many bathrooms. I mean, there are all these things. And at some sense, it is true that an apartment is an apartment, but every apartment is different. Books, yeah, I mean, if you look at, like, say, textbooks, there are plenty of different textbooks of principles of economics. They're similar, but this textbook is not exactly the same as the other. Computer games, yeah. Not every game is the same, and so some people favor this game to other games. Restaurants, yeah, to have lunch, every restaurant will fulfill that requirement, but some restaurants taste better than others. So here again, you have product differentiation. Piano lessons. Each piano tutor is different. At some sense, all of these tutors are teaching you how to play the piano, but it's different. Cookie, clothing. Actually, if you think of it, almost all of the products that we see on the market are differentiated products. If you go to buy, say, toothpaste, then there's Colgate, there's Sensodyne, there's Darlie, White Man. At some sense, they're all toothpaste, right? I mean, they're all in the same category. They fulfill the same function. But some of them are whitening, some of them are tartar control, and some taste better than others. And yeah, so here you have differentiated products. If you go and buy shoes or buy sneakers, is Nike the same as New Balance or Adidas? Or, I mean, actually, even within Nike, there's basketball shoes, runner shoes, but at some sense, all of these are sneakers, right? I mean, they're all shoes. So here again, you have these differentiated products. Okay, let's take a look. So monopolistic competition is in between. It has many sellers, free entry exit, and because of this long run, zero economic profit. But it's selling differentiated products, so that's not identical products or unique product, it's differentiated products. It does have some market power, not that extreme, but some. And it's facing a downward sloping demand curve. So what you get here is that at some parts, it's close to perfect competition. The other characteristics, it's closer to a monopoly. So that's why it's called monopolistic competition. So just to give a big picture again, so if you only have one firm, you're in a monopoly. But you have a few firms, that's oligopoly, that's the next chapter. And if you have many firms, because of free entry exit, so then you have to see if this is identical product or differentiated product, then you can separate monopolist competition and perfect competition. All right, so finally, so what would a monopolistically competitive firm do? Well, it tries to maximize profit. In the short run, golden rule, MR equal to MC. So again, you're facing this downward sloping demand curve because you are having a differentiated product that locally you're just like a monopoly. So you try to find where MR equals to MC, and that's the quantity you want to sell, and you go up the demand curve to find what price to charge. But now, so if this price is above ATC, then you're making a profit. But if it's below ATC, then you're making a loss. So everything up to here is just like a monopoly. So in that sense, what we've learned in chapter 15 basically just carry over to this chapter as well. So let's take a look. The firm is facing a downward sloping demand curve. It might not be that steep, well, that's fine, but because you have this unique flavor, differentiated product, you're facing a downward sloping demand curve. So because of this, the marginal revenue is always below price, below your demand curve. And so, okay, so what you do is you find what quantity do you want to produce and sell. MR equals to MC, so you can find, so here, this is the quantity I want to sell to maximize my profit. And then I go up to find that's the price I'm going to charge. And depending on the ATC curve, so, look here, my price is above my average total cost, so I'm earning a profit. Okay, so now what about this one? In this case, is the firm making a profit or making a loss? So please join this quiz. So is this firm making a profit, making a loss, or breaking even? The majority say making a loss, some say making a profit, and the answer is making a loss. So let's take a look. You choose quantity where MR equals to MC, that's the golden rule. Then you go up the demand curve to find that's your price you want to charge. But then what is the average total cost? It depends on your ATC curve. In this case, your ATC curve is way higher, so too bad. Your price is lower than your average total cost, so you're making a loss. So this blue rectangle is the loss that this firm is making. Okay, so this is the short run. The monopolistically competitive firm is doing the exact same thing as the monopoly, but it's just that it could be making a profit or making a loss. So the bell has rang, so we'll stop here. And on Friday, we'll continue this chapter and talk about what happens in the long run. So on Wednesday, we talked about the monopolistic competition. And firms under that situation are like under a monopoly. So you still face a downward sloping demand curve, and the margin revenue curve is below the demand curve. So when you choose MR equal to MC, you are finding the profit maximizing quantity, and then you go up the demand curve to look for what price you want to charge the marginal buyer. And depending on where your ATC curve is, you could be making a profit or a loss in the short run. So like in this case, here the ATC at the profit maximizing quantity is below the price you charge, so you are making a loss. And of course, if your ATC curve is lower, then you could be making a profit in the short run. Now we're going to ask what happens when you go to the long run. Remember, for monopolistic competition, you have free entry and exit, just like under perfect competition. So if this firm under monopolistic competition is making a profit in the short run, what's going to happen is that new firms will say, hey, it's profitable to jump in. Maybe I should jump in. But what that means is that now your market is become crowded with more products, because these are differentiated products, so they're similar but not identical. So when new firms come in, demand for existing firms will actually go down, or the demand curve will shift to the left, because some customers will want to switch to this new product. So it's like when the new iPhone comes in, then a lot of these old iPhone users or some Android users may say, hey, maybe I should switch to this new iPhone. Similarly, when Samsung has this new phone introduced, it's foldable or it has some fancy features, then it would also attract customers from other existing phones. And so what that means is that the existing firms will face a demand curve shift to the left. And so that means that their profit would actually go down. So if there is a positive profit, it's likely that new firms will come in, and so that existing firms will have lower profit, converging towards zero. If the firms are making a loss, then of course existing firms in the long run will decide to exit. But what that means is that the remaining firms will be able to enjoy higher demand and prices. And because of that, when firms are leaving the market, the original consumers would have to look for other alternatives. And so the remaining firms will see their demand curve shift to the right. And so they will enjoy higher demand, higher prices, and so fewer losses. So once all of this long run, short run effect all go away, in the long run equilibrium, what you get is what we call zero profit, just like the free entry exit outcome in perfect competition. So the price would exactly equal to the average total cost, as you see here. In this graph, the ATC curve is tangential and intersects with the demand curve exactly at the price point. But unlike perfect competition, at this zero profit price, it's still above marginal cost, because you're not at the lowest point of the ATC curve, like under perfect competition, where the demand curve is, each individual firm is facing is horizontal. So you're not at that point, so you are having a markup. So you're not producing at the efficient scale. Okay, so what this means is that you still have what we call excess capacity, because you are on the downward sloping portion of the ATC curve, not at the minimum. So this is different from perfect competition. And then you are pricing above marginal cost, so you have a markup. Of course, in contrast, under perfect competition, so you are producing at the minimum of the ATC curve in the long run, so that's the efficient scale. And then you're pricing at marginal cost, so in that sense, you are maximizing total surplus. So what this means is that a monopolistically competitive market does not have all the good properties like perfect competition. So because you are pricing above marginal cost, there's this markup. So what this means is that total surplus is not maximized because the marginal cost for producing the last unit is much lower than the marginal value that the marginal buyer is enjoying. So increasing production, increasing quantity would actually increase total surplus for the society, but that's not happening. There could also be a problem about having either too much or too little entry in this market. So here we have two externalities. One is product variety externality, the other is business stealing externality. Okay, so let's take a look. So we talked about markup. So there's a markup, so market quantity is lower than the socially efficient quantity. And so there's stairway loss. So that's one problem. For product variety, it's actually good for consumers to enjoy a variety of products instead of everybody sticking to one particular kind. So there is this extra surplus for new products to be introduced to the market. But also there is this problem that if the products are too close to existing products, then it's like a waste, right? I mean, I'm just stealing business from existing firms. The extreme case would be like, say, copycats. So when iPhone comes out, then in some crazy markets, you have these J phones that look almost identical to the iPhone, but made by copycats. So like some of the problems, like if you go and buy Lego, it's very expensive. But if you go to Taobao or some crazy website, somehow Lego cannot sue and win. So you have all these fake Lego, these copycats, and they're dirt cheap. The quality may not be that good, although rumors are they have been improving. But in that case, introducing these copycats, there's only business stealing externality. There's not really that much product variety externality that these copycats can bring in. So it's not really, consumers are not gaining because you have all these copycats. But of course, existing firms are suffering because, so you have these copycats competing with the existing firms. Okay, so far we have studied three market structures: perfect competition, monopoly, and monopolistic competition. So in each of these, would you expect to see firms spending more on advertising? That's the question. So which one do you think firms will be more likely to spend money on advertising? So, okay. And the next one is, do you think advertising is good or bad from the society's standpoint? So to try to list at least one pro or con. So, okay, which of these market structures would you expect firms to be spending money on advertising? Perfect competition, monopoly, or monopolistic competition? Some of you say it's perfect competition, others say it's monopolistic competition. Yeah, so if you think of it, under perfect competition, why would you want to advertise if you're so small? Well, you're a price taker, you can't affect the price, so that's a problem. But under monopolistic competition, because you do want to provide information to the consumers how special your product is. So there is room for advertising. But if your product is exactly the same as other sellers, then why are you advertising for other people? Okay, so next one. Is advertising good or bad? So this is a value judgment problem. This is a normative problem. Is it good or bad for the society? And so what are the pros and cons for this one? Okay, so I really appreciate all of this word cloud that you see. Of course, it's either good or bad, so the good is leading. But here you see a lot of very interesting terms. There's things about information. Consumers might be deceived or you get misled. They could provide information. So here you see that there are some pros for advertisement because consumers will be informed about these products, but they could also be misled or misinformed if this information is inaccurate. So that's a problem. What are the other sort of cons? There's also this issue of spam. If you get a lot of spam mail, you know what I mean. Email, I mean like half of them or more than half of the emails are just junk mail because it's just all these advertisements coming in. And of course, misinformation is a problem that I already mentioned. All right, so let's take a look. What provides the incentives for firms to advertise? Well, if the firm is selling a differentiated product, and so it can charge a price above the marginal cost, what that means is that by advertisement, you can distinguish your product from other competitors. So advertisement could help you attract more buyers. That's where you get incentives to advertise. In the data, what you see is that for highly differentiated products, 10 to 20% of the revenue goes to marketing. So advertising spending is quite a lot. Compared to that, for industrial products where everything is standardized, you see little advertisement. And for homogeneous products, there's no advertising at all. Okay, so there is a debate about advertisement, usually because this happens under differentiated products. So you see that, so there are markups, so firms can spend on advertising. And because of differentiated products, they want to distinguish themselves from competitors. So there is incentives for them to advertise. So the more differentiated a product is, the more advertising firms buy. But the question is that good or bad for the society? And even among economists, they're divided because people think, hey, it's a waste of resource, right? I mean, why are you spending like millions of dollars or billions of dollars on, say, paying LeBron James to shoot basketballs and not providing any information until the very end where you see the Nike logo? What's that for? Yeah. But there could be some potential valuable purposes here. We talked about providing information. So one problem is that, hey, you're trying to manipulate people's taste, right? I mean, you create this illusion that, the Nike sneakers, these shoes are special. It makes you become LeBron James. Well, will you truly become LeBron James just because you also wear Nike? No, I mean, LeBron James is unique, right? I mean, so it's like this is just an illusion that you're trying to create on the customers. So that could be a problem. And because of this, customers rush to buy Nike just because they're sort of misled to think that they will become LeBron James if they buy this product. And so that's a problem. And also, because you are creating this differentiation, so buying New Balance or Adidas or these other brands would not make you like LeBron James. Only Nike will. So you're sort of differentiating Nike from the competitors, and this is actually reducing competition. It's like if you believe that the iPhone is just so unique, so no other Android phone can ever beat the iPhone, then, of course, you're willing to pay much more just to buy the latest iPhone. So here you have this brand loyalty. That means that firms can charge an even higher markup. And so basically, this is anti-competitive. So basically, the more you advertise, you basically create this distinction, then the more this product is going to move towards the monopoly side of this spectrum because it's so unique. So the two main complaints about advertising is that you're creating this illusion or you're manipulating consumers' taste that don't really exist. The other is that you are reducing competition. And so once you go closer and closer to a monopoly, of course, there you have a lot of problems, inefficiency, and there's this fairness issue, inequality issues about a monopoly. Okay, so these are the concerns on advertising. But on the other hand, there actually is a role for advertisement because you are providing useful information to buyers. So that's always useful because you have to make an informed choice. I mean, if you randomly choose, then of course, it's likely you're not going to make the best choice. But if you're informed, then you will make better choices. And also, it's because of this information dissipation that, so you are going to attract new customers, that were not aware of your product. And because of that, so of course, that would increase competition and reduce the market power. So imagine that there's a new product that's even better than all of the existing ones, but all of the consumers do not know that. So they're only willing to pay the high price to the existing products they know. But now you have a new product coming in, and of course, this new product would need to advertise and say, hey, why buy this old product at that high price? I mean, use e-commerce or use whatever new product that's much cheaper and more convenient and so on. So advertisement could actually also increase competition, especially for new products that people are unaware about. Empirically, there are some case studies. So of course, the challenge here is how can you find a product that's legal to advertise in some places, but illegal in other places, or sometimes legal, sometimes illegal. So one example that's much older is eyeglasses, because eyeglasses used to be considered a medical device. So, I mean, it's like there's a lot of regulation on how pharmaceutical companies can or cannot advertise their drugs. So similarly, there are these restrictions on can or cannot these medical devices run advertisements. And so you could exploit some places that prohibit advertisements, other places that do not prohibit advertisements, to compare and see the effect of advertisements. And this is an early study in 1972 that finds that actually if you ban advertisement for eyeglasses, it becomes more expensive. So the information aspect is actually very important. And actually here, at least for eyeglasses, allowing advertisement actually increases competition. A more recent study here, again, so where can you find the case where firms are not allowed to advertise their products? The other possibility is liquor. I mean, because if you're selling these alcoholic drinks, so there could be a lot of issues about young adults trying to drink or other drinking problems. So different places would have different restrictions on whether or not you're allowed to advertise. And what they found was when these restrictions were relaxed, well, liquor became 20% cheaper after these advertisement bans were lifted. So what you get here is, again, that increasing competition, providing information, has a stronger effect compared to the others. But of course, I mean, this is restricted to two particular products that were banned from advertisement, but now are allowed. Of course, the real question is like, what about Nike, right? I mean, should Nike be advertising? Or like, should Apple continue to advertise and show how unique the iPhone is? I mean, I think everybody knows the iPhone by now, so there's much less information benefit for this to happen. But here you see that there are both pros and cons for advertisements. And so it is really an empirical question to determine for each and every product, do the pros outweigh the cons or vice versa? All right, so here is some very interesting piece. Up to here, most of the advertisement arguments are about information. But what if there is this advertisement that has no information at all? I'm not sure if you've ever seen these crazy advertisements. On TV, you show this crazy video, and then at the very end, you don't even know what product that is. So, I mean, think about Nike. I mean, Nike spends billions of dollars on LeBron James. Does the Nike advertisement show you how LeBron James uses Nike's specially designed basketball shoes to improve his jumping or running or... No, I mean, you just see LeBron James performing on court, and that's it. And then at the very end, actually sometimes you don't even see which brand LeBron James is wearing. It's only at the very end you see the Nike logo, and then just do it. Well, where is the information content there? That's the mystery that this interesting piece is going to talk about. So even if this advertisement has very little apparent information about the product, it can serve as a signal that the firm is so confident that this product is good quality product that it's going to throw millions of dollars in the water, not even providing any information, just burning money. Burning money can serve as a signal. Why is that? Well, if you think of it, compared to a bad product, well, would a firm be willing to burn a lot of money on a bad product, on advertising this bad product? No, because it's a bad product. I mean, well, there's no point for me to burn the money. But if I'm sure, if I'm so confident that this is a great product, that once you try it, you will stick to it and you will come back to buy more of this in the future, then yeah, so there is a case to be believed that you claim that Nike shoes are a good product and you're willing to burn millions of money, and so maybe I should believe you. So in this case, well, actually, the information content of the advertisement is actually not that important. The fact that this company is willing to burn billions of dollars on this product, that is what's relevant. Okay, to show you this, let me give you an example. So to advertise or not to advertise, that is the question. So imagine there are two companies that are developing new toothpaste, Colgate and Sensodyne. And each tube of toothpaste will sell at 150 NT dollars. So if a company runs an advertisement, it's going to bring in 500,000 new consumers. If people are happy with the purchase, they will continue to buy one tube of toothpaste each month. So suppose, let's just make it very simple. Marginal cost is 0. And so the only thing is the cost of advertising. So you throw $240 million on advertisement every year. So that's how costly it is to advertise. Now, assume that Colgate knows that their new toothpaste is actually not that good. But Sensodyne believes that it's just right, it's just good. Now the question is, which firm should advertise? Colgate or Sensodyne, or both, or neither? That, I think, is the question. So, okay, so here you have two firms. They have to choose, do they throw in 240 million NT dollars each year on advertisement? So which firm should advertise? So let's take a look. So now we have a quiz. So which one? Which firm should advertise? Okay, so some say Colgate, but a lot of you say Sensodyne. And yeah, so Sensodyne is the right answer. It's okay if you don't know. Okay, so if Colgate advertises, it's burning 240 million NT dollars, so that's costly. The question is, what would the benefits be? Well, it would attract 500,000 new customers to try out this Colgate new taste toothpaste. So the benefit is $150 times 500,000. And the profit, okay, so $150 times 500,000, so you get 75 million, but you're paying 240 million in advertisement. So you're making a loss of 165 million NT dollars. So it's not worth it. So yeah, so Colgate should not advertise. It's just not worth it. But in contrast, if Sensodyne advertises, again, it's paying 240 million NT dollars, but now 500,000 of consumers that are attracted to buy this new Sensodyne toothpaste is going to buy one every month. So the benefit is $150 times 12 times this 500,000 of customers. So now, because Sensodyne gets these repeated customers because the taste is just right. And so the profit now 150 times 12 and then times 500,000. So that's 900 million dollars in revenue, and minus the advertising cost is $240 million. So Sensodyne is making $660 million. So of course Sensodyne should advertise. And of course here, this is a very simplified example. There's no marginal cost and things are very simple, but you get the idea. So if the firm is only willing to burn $240 million because he is so confident that this is a high quality product. Customers will come again and again. So if this is a one-time thing, so imagine you are a seller on Shopee or Taobao where you're selling a copycat or a bad quality product. Well, would you be willing to advertise? No, because your only goal is to deceive the customers once and sell a very bad product, and you don't care about the customer anymore. But If you are a seller that has reputation and you care about your reputation and you're selling high quality products, of course, what you really want is to attract and retain these customers, and so that they will come back to you again and again for future purchases. And well, it's these people who care about their reputation that are willing to spend huge amounts of money for advertisements. Okay, so here you have this example where even if the information content of the advertisement is 0, there is still this information because advertisements could serve as a signal to distinguish high quality products from low quality products. Similarly, in a monopolistic competitive market, there's also the issue of brand names. So you have brand name products compared to generic ones. And so, of course, these brand names, they spend a lot on advertising and charge higher prices compared to these generic products. And so again, just like there's a debate on advertising, there's also a debate on whether or not brand names is good or bad for the society. So let's take a look. The critiques of brand names think that, well, I mean, it's just the same product, right? I mean, but it's just because it has this brand name on it, or somehow now it's gonna charge a higher price. In the old days, almost all of the computers were made in Taiwan. Now all of them are made in China. But just because it has HP or Dell or IBM on it, then it's selling at a higher price. So, I mean, it's the same product, right? I mean, it's all made in Shenzhen or Suzhou or whatever factory. And so it's seemingly irrational that consumers are willing to pay such a premium just because it has a label on it. Yeah, so that's one problem here. But there are the defenders of brand names would say that, well, at least consumers get information about quality. And actually, if you are a brand name firm, you have the incentives to maintain this high quality because you want to keep the reputation of a brand name. Well, it's true, all cell phones are made in China, but the iPhone just has higher quality. Why is that? Well, of course, I mean, because Apple does spend a lot of effort on quality control. So if this new product, this new feature is not going to meet their high standards, they're just not going to include it in this year's iPhone. And they have the incentives to maintain their brand name and to maintain this high quality standard compared to other more generic brands. So again, there are pros and cons for brand names, and so there is no silver bullet here. Okay, so the last part of this. So you're watching Super Bowl, and during a commercial break, you see an advertisement featuring LeBron James. In the advertisement, LeBron James does nothing but shoots basketballs. He never speaks. And then there is no written copy. At the end of the advertisement, you see the Nike logo, and then says, Nike, LeBron James signature basketball shoes. So you read this newspaper article that LeBron James received $40 million to be the spokesman for Nike basketball shoes. So question. So your friend says, hey, what a waste of society's resources. I didn't learn anything about Nike basketball shoes from that advertisement. I think there should be governmental regulations requiring advertisements to be informative in some way. So the question is, what have you learned from this Nike advertisement? And the next one is that, did the use of the Nike name and the logo provide any information? And in general, does advertising tend to decrease competition and raise prices to consumers, or increase competition and reduce prices? That's the interesting question. All right, so first question. So what did you learn from this LeBron James advertisement? Okay, LeBron James uses Nike, and he needs money as well. Let's see what else. Oh, associating Nike with high quality. good shoes. Okay, so the key thing for this advertisement is what? LeBron James is endorsing Nike. So it's this endorsement. And of course, what that means is that every time you see LeBron James on court, he's not wearing some other brand. He's wearing Nike. So in that sense, the information here is that there is this professional NBA player that is endorsing this company's product. So this endorsement, of course, is some information. Of course, should you believe in LeBron James, that's a problem. Or is your foot suitable for Nike just like LeBron James thinks Nike is suitable for him? That's another problem, but at least you know that there is endorsement over here. And I think the key thing is this. So if the endorser is also using this product, that I think is a credible endorsement, at least that he thinks this product is good enough. He is using this product all the time. Of course, some of these endorsers don't really use the product at all. Especially for basketball players, you actually see them wearing these shoes when they play in the games. So you know that they are using this product. And if they don't think these products are good enough, they would not do that. Because, I mean, the whole point for them to wear these shoes in the games is to win the game. And so if this is not going to help them win the game, if the shoes would even harm them when they play the game, then I mean, it's not even worth it to actually to endorse these products. So product endorsement here is something that we learn, even though LeBron James says nothing. We just see LeBron James shooting basketballs. Okay, so did the use of the name Nike and the Swiss logo provide any information? Yeah, so the key thing here is that here it's less obvious, but imagine if LeBron James is endorsing a new company that is less heard of. Then a lot of these consumers of basketball shoes may not be that aware of this new company. So unlike Nike, where it used to be that they sell Air Jordan, so Michael Jordan has been endorsing Nike for years. And then, of course, subsequent, there are a series of different professional players. Now it's LeBron James. But if this is a new company or new brand that we don't know that much about, well, seeing the brand name, seeing the logo, I mean, this, of course, is providing information for consumers to realize there's a new brand, there's a new product on the market, and it is endorsed by LeBron James. For Nike, there's much less information here because people know Nike so well, or most people know Nike so well. Of course, maybe that's not true. I mean, your children or the new generation who have no idea who Michael Jordan is, they might not know what Nike is, but once they watch these advertisements, then they learn. Okay, oh, I love this comment. Curry is better. Hey, where's that? Yeah, where's Curry is better? Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, Curry is better. Yeah, I love that. Good. Okay, so in general, does advertisement tend to decrease competition and raise prices, or increase competition and reduce prices to customers? So I see both increase and decrease, although there's also raise and decrease price. So it's not clear what decrease means here. Is it decreased competition or, well, yeah, that's why I use the term reduce prices. Okay, so yeah, but here you see that it really depends. I mean, because depending on which product we're talking about, advertisements could both decrease competition and increase competition in different situations. That's why this is a hot topic and there's no single correct answer. Okay, so to summarize this chapter, so in this chapter we talked about a monopolistically competitive market, many firms, differentiated products, and free entry exit. And these firms are like a monopoly, so you have delay loss because you're pricing above marginal cost. You have this markup. And the number of firms, number of products could be too few or too less, so these are sources of inefficiency. But the problem is that policymakers don't really have that much that they can do because in the long run, firms are getting zero economic profit, and so it is what it is. And yeah, so in the long run equilibrium, you have excess capacity because you're not producing at the lowest point of the average total cost curve, and every firm is charging a markup. Finally, we talked about advertisements and brand names. So there are good things about this, but bad things. The critics talk about how advertisements manipulate consumer taste and reduce competition, but also advertisements could be informing consumers and so increasing competition. Okay, so this is my one-page summary. What I really want to say is that almost all of the products that we see on the market now, in reality, are differentiated products. If you think of all of the examples that you can think of, well, I mean, we wear different clothes. My shirt is similar but not exactly identical to your shirt. And we buy different food, of course, including the service that these restaurants provide. So they're also similar in the sense that you get a meal for lunch or dinner or breakfast, but they have different tastes, and so there are differentiated products. So location or how you position your product is very important. So in the short run, it's like a monopoly. So in that sense, it's the same as what we saw in the previous chapter. But in the long run, you get zero economic profit, just like perfect competition. So here's the homework. And to show you how much I love this, there are quite a few questions, especially in the past couple of years.